Hi, and welcome to Chamber Chatter. I'm Sean Hayes, Executive Director with the Clarkston Area Chamber of Commerce. This month, we caught up with our nonprofit of the month, and we're also going to provide some updates on our most popular event, Taste of Clarkston.
We encourage everyone to visit our website, clarkston.org, and click the COVID-19 resources and updates link on our homepage. From there, you'll find business, community, and health resources. Business resources include information on several grants and loans available through various programs. Community resources include links to volunteer opportunities and information for people in need, along with a listing of local restaurants that are open for carryout and delivery. Health resources features guidelines from both the Center for Disease Control and Oakland County Health Division, as well as mental health resources for those seeking support.
Kendall and I had the chance to sit down with Greg Martin from Disaster Relief at Work. In addition to representing DRAW, Greg is also working on a new campaign called Detroit Medical Debt Relief. We had a chance to catch up with him and talk to him about that campaign. Today we're recognizing our nonprofit of the month, and joining us is Greg Martin. Greg, thank you for being here today.
Sean, thanks for having me, man. Listen, it was a tough commute from my bedroom to my office, a good 10 feet, but I'm happy to have walked that 10 feet to join you guys today.
Glad to hear. We appreciate having you. So you represent both DRAW, which is Disaster Relief at Work, and the Coffee Bucket, two organizations that we know here at the Chamber go hand in hand with one another. But we brought you here today as our nonprofit of the month to recognize the Detroit Medical Debt Relief campaign. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. My wife and I and some other friends, we started talking right around the same time that there was a lot of conversation in our country around racial injustice and what we like to call racial reconciliation. This idea that there may be systemic issues that the Black community faces that are unequal, and we're all about equality and trying to kind of level the playing field for everybody. And so we wanted to do something. You know, in all this, it's hard to find the thing that you can do. And the one thing that kept coming to the surface for us was this understanding of debt, and specifically medical debt. Let me give you a couple stats. Black Americans under the age of 65 are 60 to 70% more likely to have medical debt than white Americans. And in the midst of all that, we looked at Detroit, and specifically Detroit, their population is 79% Black. And so we thought, if we can try to start to alleviate medical debt in the Black community, that alleviation of debt can allow people to get loans, to get jobs, to get mortgages. Debt is a major, major hindrance in any type of upward movement in life. And so we felt like, hey, that's something we can tackle. And that's when we met the organization called RIP Medical Debt. They're based out of New York. They work across the nation, but you can start a campaign in any specific region and say, I want to eliminate medical debt. And what they do is they actually can buy debt from hospitals or healthcare for a penny on the dollar. This is debt from people who would never be able to pay it off. They would have this on their back for the rest of their lives. And the hospital says, look, we're not going to get anything for this anyways. And so this nonprofit will go to the hospital and buy $1 million of debt for $10,000. And then we as people who organize campaigns can buy that debt and just forgive it. And so all of the people who have their debt bought through RIP Medical Debt will get a letter in the mail that says your debt is forgiven, and you now have not only a clean bill of health, but a clean bill of financial health. And so we started a campaign for Detroit in that with the specific idea that, like, let's equal the playing field and let's impact as many people as we can to have financial freedom.
When did you guys officially launch the campaign, and then how much money have you been able to raise so far?
So we started the campaign June 18th. It took us a while to kind of go back and forth with the organization in New York and figure out how we wanted to approach it and what city and what region. And then we started to gather partners. So June 18th is when we launched it. And we launched it with 15 what I would call investors or fellow donors. And so we started by buying and forgiving $1.5 million of medical debt in Detroit since June 18th, we've raised, or we've had another 15,000, 16,000, about 12,000 of that's online, another 4,000 offline. So in total, we have bought and forgiven $3 million of medical debt in the city of Detroit, which will financially free over 1,500 people at minimum. And I can tell you that in Detroit, right now there's $66.3 million of medical debt. And so we're taking a big bite out of that and trying to have financial freedom and equality for white community and the Black community.
Greg, that's amazing. Those numbers are fantastic. And just looking at it, if anybody watching this today wants to support this cause, where can they go to learn more about that?
Well, the website that's pretty incredible it's a website called ripmedicaldebt.org. If you go on that site, you can see all the campaigns across the country. Ours is the Detroit campaign, but there are campaigns in other cities. And you can see some of the work that they've done. You can read testimonials of people who have received letters in the mail who had $200,000 worth of debt just bought and forgiven, and kind of how that changed their life. It's pretty incredible. It's also there's a funny video clip that the organization got some notoriety because it was on the show Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, and John Oliver through the show had purchased and forgiven about $15 million of medical debt in Texas. And so they've had some interesting partners, but the mission as a whole, you can read a lot about it, ripmedicaldebt.org, and you'll see the Detroit campaign right near the top. We're one of their featured campaigns right now.
Wow, all of this information, it just sounds so incredible and life-changing. Before you go, Greg, is there anything else you would like to share to the community about DRAW, the Coffee Bucket, or the Detroit Medical Debt Relief Campaign?
Okay, well, since you ask, I will mention for DRAW, obviously it's been a very strange time the last 5 months with COVID and everything else that has happened. Obviously, we've been living it. DRAW has delivered about 165,000 meals in Oakland County to food insecure families. And we've also responded to the Midland flooding after the Edenville Dam broke. That's all been in the last 3 months. And we've been doing it all without volunteers because we're trying to figure out how can we have volunteers back in our warehouse in Waterford to help put buckets together and get our supplies ready for our next disaster. Just last week, we started welcoming volunteers back to our warehouse. And so there are strict protocols, and we want safety for anybody who's volunteering and for our staff. But we'd love to have people volunteer with us. So if you're interested in hearing about that or learning more about it, you can go to our website, which is drawbuckets.org, and /volunteer, or you can click on the volunteer tab. And when you do, you can read about the protocols we put in place to keep you safe, to keep us safe, and for us to continue our mission of serving people after major disasters.
Very glad to hear. Greg, thank you for being here with us today. We're so glad we could feature you. You're well involved in our community. You always help out the chamber a lot too with some of the events we have going on too. So appreciate you being part of that.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for chatting up a little bit about the work that we get to do to make a difference in the world around us.
Before we wrap up today, we want to provide everybody with some updates on Taste of Clarkston. We've been getting a lot of questions regarding how Taste is going to go this year, given all the executive orders and restrictions related to COVID-19. And unfortunately, the event that we all know and love will not be possible this year, given the limitations of public gatherings. We've been working with our local restaurants, surveying them on their needs and what would benefit them the most, and we are working on a format that would look like a restaurant week, where people would be able to stop by different restaurants in the area, whether they get carry-out or dine-in options, and still be able to support these businesses and enjoy the community aspect behind Taste of Clarkston. The event will look a little bit different, but we think this is a format that will benefit both the chamber and our restaurants and local businesses equally, and we hope to have this carried out successfully and move forward with the event again in 2021. That's all the updates we have for today. Look forward to seeing you in September.
Today's event was the Women in Business function. That's an annual function that's put on by the Clarkston Area Chamber of Commerce. And we generally have about 150 attendees, and it's one of my favorite events of the year because it's just such a time to kind of celebrate and talk about women's accomplishments in business, but also how they are able to weave their personal lives into their business lives. I think this year it's been a little bit different lineup, which I think it's been good. We've been able to kind of network and then kind of chat amongst each other, but then to recognize the people that have put the event on, the sponsors, they're invaluable when it comes to putting these events on. And then also just hearing from the panelists and hearing from people in different industries, and also the question and answer is just nice to be interactive with other attendees today. So there's so many opportunities with the Chamber if you would like to get involved. There's membership opportunities, but there's also plenty of volunteer opportunities. The nice thing about these events like Women in Business is that anyone can attend. You don't have to be a member, you can be what we call a future member, and you can be a friend, you can be a family member. So there's invaluable, numerous opportunities to get involved, whether you're in business now, retired, or just wanting to support the community.